Hi friends, it's story time. I have a bit of a longer one for you today, but I really love it. It's about a stuffed animal. When I was a kid, I really loved my stuffed animals, and this story is about Fuzzy Rabbit. Fuzzy Rabbit in the Park by Rosemary Billam. We can see something that's going to happen to this bunny. It's a little hard to tell looking at the bunny's face how the bunny is feeling, but I don't think the bunny looks very comfortable being in this sailboat. I wonder how that's going to happen. Let's see. The title page has the little bunny in a garden. This stuffed animal is going to get to go outside. It's also a story about a girl named Ellen, and here she is. The words of the story are going to say, Ellen was going to spend the afternoon at Mary's house, so they're going to have a play date. She took Fuzzy Rabbit with her because he enjoyed playing with Mary's dog, Cinnamon. I wonder if Cinnamon is a stuffed animal or a real dog. Let's see. I'm going to bring the book closer so you can see this whole picture all at once. They played horses, their favorite game. Ellen held Fuzzy on Cinnamon's back, and he went for a ride. So Cinnamon is a real dog. Mary pretended to feed the dog, and he licked her palm. That's so fun, to put your stuffy on a dog, if the dog likes that game, of course. Mary's mother asked the girls to go to the store, so they went into the hall to get ready. They must be big kids. They're allowed to walk to the store by themselves. Cinnamon didn't follow them. He didn't like shopping. Cinnamon ran off last week, Mary told Ellen. Somebody found him in the park and brought him back. When Cinnamon heard the word park, he wagged his tail and ran outside. Fuzzy was still on his back. Sometimes when dogs hear a certain word like park or walk, they get really excited because they understand that special word. I don't know how Fuzzy is staying on Cinnamon's back, but out they go. As Cinnamon swerved, Fuzzy fell off with a bump. Cinnamon picked Fuzzy up and then ran toward a small hole in the hedge. It was his shortcut to the park. Mary's mother saw him disappearing. Cinnamon, she shouted. Come in right now. You can see there's Cinnamon right there, trying to sneak through the bushes to escape. Sometimes doggies run away from home for fun. Cinnamon dropped Fuzzy on the other side of the hedge and ran back into the house. Fuzzy could hear the side doors being shut and locked. There goes the doggie back into the house. And Fuzzy is now on the wrong side of the bushes. So they're not going to be able to see him very well where he is. That's kind of a problem. This is what happened next. Soon, the front door banged, and Ellen and Mary came out with Cinnamon on a leash. They started walking along the street. They couldn't see Fuzzy lying under the hedge, but Cinnamon did. He pulled on the leash and he barked. Whoop! Come on, said Mary sternly. He probably wants to go to the park again, said Ellen. Fuzzy hoped that Ellen would notice him on her way back from the store. Can you see Fuzzy back there? The girls didn't notice, but Fuzzy Rabbit is really hoping they will notice on their way back. Before long, a little girl waiting at a bus stop spotted Fuzzy. She stared at him. Then she picked him up and gave him a hug. Fuzzy felt very uncomfortable. So there's Fuzzy under the bushes. This little girl saw Fuzzy, and then she went and got Fuzzy. What if this other little girl brings Fuzzy home? That could happen. Sometimes people find a toy and then they take it. Let's see if that's what happens here. They were just about to get on the bus when the little girl's mother turned and saw Fuzzy. "Where did he come from?" she asked. "I found him under the hedge," the little girl answered. "Well, you can't keep him. He's not yours. We'll leave him on the bench," said the mother. Whew, that's good. So the mommy says, "Well, I know you like that bunny, but that bunny doesn't belong to you, and someone will be looking for that bunny." So they left the bunny. Fuzzy watched them get on the bus. That was a narrow escape, he thought. He liked bus rides, but the idea of not knowing where he was going to end up frightened him. Whew. Well, I hope that the girls will see Fuzzy on their way back. What do you think will happen? Fuzzy waited for Ellen and Mary to come back from the store. The bench was cold, but he sat and watched the passers-by. 2 children came along with their father. The little boy was crying. "Shh, Jamie," said his sister. "Here, look at this rabbit." She pushed Fuzzy into Jamie's arms. Fuzzy sat nervously, wondering what would happen next. "If they take me away, Ellen won't know where I am," he thought. Uh-oh, here are more kids that want to take Fuzzy home. How will Ellen find him again? Uh-oh. This daddy is a little distracted, and he doesn't even notice that they picked up this stuffed animal. They crossed the road and went through the park gates and along the path. Fuzzy looked around excitedly. They had gone past the flower beds. He'd never been so far into the park before. Jamie was still crying. He didn't want Fuzzy. He wanted his sister's pinwheel. "Be kind, share your pinwheel with him," said the father. Jamie grabbed at the pinwheel, and as he did, Fuzzy slipped from his fingers and fell onto the grass. Fuzzy picked himself up and watched the family disappear around the corner. It was a very long walk home, and he'd have to find his own way. He decided to take a shortcut. So this is a problem. Fuzzy is very far into the park. He doesn't know where he lives or how to get there. And he can only move when people are not looking. So this is going to be a challenge. In the meantime, this happened. He pushed through a clump of lupines. To his surprise, he found he was on the edge of a lake. A boy was trying out a boat. His grandparents were helping. "It really needs a passenger," said Grandpa. "That old rabbit over there would do." "That's not very nice," said Fuzzy to himself. "I'm not old, and anyway, I'm in a hurry." Will Fuzzy be able to get away? If people see him and pick him up, he might have to go with them. Well, yes, the boy picked up Fuzzy and put him in the boat, and with a push, launched him into the choppy water. Fuzzy held on tightly as the waves rocked him back and forth. Uh-oh. They were on their second trip around the lake when drops of rain began to fall. Looking up, Fuzzy saw that the sky was full of big black clouds. Within minutes, his fur was soaking wet. He hated sailing. He wanted to go home. Luckily, at that moment, the boy pulled on the string, hauled Fuzzy and the boat to shore, and lifted them out of the water. So that's lucky. The boat was on a string, so it can't float away, and the boy pulled it back in. I don't know what the boy is going to do with Fuzzy, though. Now it's raining. Grandpa looked across the boating lake toward the street and saw a bus coming. "That's our bus," he said. "Quick, let's run for it." They dashed through the rain, past the flower beds, and toward the big gates. At last, someone was taking Fuzzy in exactly the direction he wanted to go. So that's good. They're taking him out of the park, which he needs to have that happen so he can go home. They were all out of breath when they reached the bus stop. "Oh, we don't want to take that old rabbit with us," said Grandma. "Leave him here on the bench. He must belong to someone." Fuzzy watched as the bus drove away and left him alone again. Well, It's good that they didn't take Fuzzy. But now he's on the bench again. Look at this picture. Just then, Ellen and Mary came around the corner. What wonderful luck! Fuzzy waited for Ellen to pick him up. But the children were in such a hurry that they went right past the bench, and they didn't even look over. Cinnamon snuffled around the hedge. Don't dawdle, Cinnamon, said Mary. We'll all get wet. Fuzzy sneezed. Achoo! And Cinnamon must have heard him because suddenly he strained toward the bench. Fuzzy caught his eye just as Mary pulled him around the gate post. And then they were gone. Oh no, he was right there. They walked right by him, but they didn't see him because they were distracted by the rain and the dog, and they forgot to look at a bunny on the bench. Now how is Fuzzy going to get home? Well, meanwhile, inside the house, Cinnamon wouldn't settle down. He kept scratching at the door, so finally Mary's mother let him out into the back garden. She blocked the hole in the hedge with a large stone. Fuzzy could hear Cinnamon whining. Then she heard him frantically scratching his way through the hedge. Seconds later, there was Cinnamon, panting in front of him. Panting is when dogs stick out their tongue. He had come to the rescue. He picked Fuzzy up, carried him along the pavement, dragged him under the gate, went up the path, and climbed the steps to the front door. He proudly placed Fuzzy Rabbit on the doorstep and barked very loudly. What a relief. It's a good thing Cinnamon knew where the rabbit was. Mary's mother opened the door. Cinnamon, how did you get out? She said. And what have you got there? She hardly recognized Fuzzy because he was so dirty. Look who's here, said Mary's mother, bringing Fuzzy into the living room. When Ellen saw him, she stopped buttering her muffin in amazement. I thought you were in the playroom this whole time, she exclaimed. Where have you been? Remember, when they left for the store, Fuzzy Rabbit was inside the house. They didn't even know that Fuzzy was outside this whole time. It's a good thing Cinnamon knew, right? Well, he needs a bath and a good brushing, said Mary's mother. Ellen rinsed his clothes in warm, soapy water, and Mary put them on the radiator to dry. The radiator is where heat comes out in certain houses. Poor Fuzzy, what a state you're in, said Ellen, shaking her head. As a reward, Mary gave Cinnamon a bone to chew on. Fuzzy sat and warmed himself in front of the fire while Ellen brushed his fur. What have you been up to? She said. Fuzzy longed to tell her, but it didn't really matter now. Everything was all right again. So Fuzzy can talk, but maybe the kids can't hear him. When it was time to go home, Ellen tucked Fuzzy into her jacket, and as they went past the park, he looked back over her shoulder. The big gates were closed. The path to the boating lake was dark with shadows, and the wind moaned through the trees. Fuzzy Rabbit snuggled down into the warm lining of Ellen's jacket. He'd had enough adventures for one day. Oh, I'm so glad that Fuzzy Rabbit ended up safe and didn't have to stay in the park overnight in the dark. Oh, I'm so glad that Fuzzy Rabbit got rescued, aren't you? I love thinking about stuffed animals, having their own thoughts and their own adventures when we're not looking. Have you ever thought about that? Thanks for coming to Story today. I'm glad you were here, and I'll see you again another day. Bye.